With the All-Star break over, the NBA season has passed its unofficial halfway point. With such a large chunk of the season already finished, award races have started to take shape, including the most important regular season award. The MVP, the most valuable player, the award most often given to the best player of the season or player having the best season. However, this idea of having the best season or being the most valuable player is pretty subjective. No matter who wins every year, there are mobs of fans swarming to social media with their pitchforks claiming their favorite player was robbed. Just a few weeks ago, Joel Embiid looked to be an almost unanimous favorite to win the award. However, as most of you know, Joel Embiid is now sidelined till most likely the end of regular season, eliminating him from contention for the award. This leaves the MVP landscape wide open, with everyone standing a fair chance to take home the award. So who deserves MVP? I mean, there is a long list of candidates such as Giannis, Shea, Jokic, Luka, and even a few throw-ins like Tatum, Kawhi, and Mitchell. To help us decide, maybe we should think about what it usually takes to win MVP. By far, the most important criteria to win the MVP is to stuff the stat sheet and to get some wins along the way. You won't ever really see an MVP with weak stats. Ignore him, and you won't really see an MVP not make the playoffs except Kareem that one year. If we take a look at the last 10 MVPs, the only players to win MVP without a top 3 seed were Jokic in 2022 and Westbrook in 2017, both leading their teams to a 6th seed finish, while 5 of the last 10 MVPs have topped their conferences. So maybe you don't need to be at the very top of the league to win the MVP, but definitely be one of the top few teams to have a good shot to win the award. The other big factor in taking home the MVP is individual play. All of the last 10 MVPs have been top 10 in the league in points per game, with 5 of them being the scoring champions of their MVP seasons. Now, scoring isn't the only thing that matters. Assists and rebounds are also very important to individual play. If you tally up points, assists, and rebounds per game, every MVP in the last 10 years was at least top 3 in the league in this stat, except Curry in 2015. Now, if you combine both winning and the box score, you see a very clear criteria to win MVP. Adding up points, rebounds, and assists per game, multiplied by the player's win percent in the season, you see a very close relationship between a leader in the stat and winning MVP. Since the NBA and ABA merger, the players to lead the league in this stat have won 31 of the 47 MVPs given out since the merger. That is 2/3 of the time. Now, if you expand the criteria with this stat a little more, only 3 MVPs have been given out to players who were not at least top 4 in this stat for their season. Can you guess who? Steve Nash in 2004-2005, and then again, Steve Nash the very next year, and surprisingly Westbrook in his monster MVP season. So that means nearly 94% of all MVPs in that span have been at least top 4 in this stat. So if we use this stat to define our criteria of MVP, who should be the candidates this season? Well, these are the top leaders this season. The top few spots are just marginally separated. Oh wait, never mind. Joel Embiid by far stands above the rest of his peers in the stat, and it's not even close. Looking at NBA history, in the top seasons in this stat since the merger, you'll see some great legendary seasons. Larry Bird in his MVP run, Magic in '88, LeBron in 2013, Jordan in '96. Then closer to the top, you'll see a few recent names, Harden and Curry in another throwback with Shaq in his 2000 season, and then Giannis. Oh wait, there's one more spot, Embiid this season. Not only is Embiid blowing out his competition this season, but he has a lead over all-time great seasons. However, once again, as we know, Embiid is ineligible to win the award, so let's focus on the rest of the leaders. There is still a very large pool of players, so let's narrow it down a little more. To be the MVP, you have to be the best player on your team, or at least fighting for that spot. So let's get rid of players like Cat, Jaylen Brown, and a couple others. This narrows the list down to 13 players. Furthermore, since the merger, no player has missed the playoffs and won the award, so we'll get rid of LeBron since the Lakers are technically not a top 8 seed. This gives us a solid top 12. Now, another important criteria is play and success relative to your team talent. If your team is stacked to the brim with talent, obviously you aren't as valuable as someone carrying their team. This is a reason why LeBron couldn't win MVP in his first season with the Heat, and why neither Curry nor KD were candidates when they teamed up. So if we sort these players by the percentage of points, rebounds, and assists they are responsible for relative to their teams, this is what the landscape looks like. But I'm still not sold on this list. Over the last few years, advanced metrics have gained more and more attraction. One such stat is BPM, box plus minus. Over the last 15 seasons, only one player has finished below top 2 in BPM and won MVP, while everyone else has been at least top 2 and often the leader. So let's multiply this player performance relative to the team by BPM, and you get this. Not bad. Another important aspect to winning the MVP is the player's seed earned in the standings. Factoring in seeding, you get something like this. With Jokic leading the pack, however, there is one more thing you must account for: voter fatigue. Often voters will get tired of giving the award over and over again to the same players. This is why LeBron and MJ don't each have 10 or more MVPs. Jokic has won 2 of the last 3 MVPs, so he must face some sort of penalty. After all of this number crunching and using all historic data and criteria relevant to the MVP, you get this as the final result for the MVP race. Leading the pack is Shea, followed by a pair of MVPs, with Luka and Mitchell closing out the top 5. According to this criteria, Shea deserves the MVP season, and it's hard to deny his case, leading the Thunder to the 2 seed in the stacked West, averaging over 30 points a game on great efficiency. Let's double check our list with the recent MVP straw poll by ESPN, where they listened to 100 actual voters. Both lists have nearly an identical top 12, the only difference being ours includes Fox while ESPN has Halliburton. The lists are nearly identical with players differing by a couple spots at the most. Both lists have an identical top 4. The only difference is we have Shea topping our list, while ESPN has Jokic topping theirs. So is our selection wrong? Let's do one last check before we crown Shea as MVP at the All-Star break. Top 10 in scoring, check. Top 3 seed, check. A leader in points plus assists plus rebounds, top 5, so leading enough. A leader when you factor in winning, top 5 again. A leader in BPM, check. No voter fatigue, check. Though Shea might not have the top seed, the very best stats or the highest BPM, he seems to possess the best combination of all the different criteria from past MVPs, putting him on top of the rest of the pack. However, it is important to note there is still a lot left to play in the season, whether players pick up or drop their play, whether injuries take a toll and how seedings shake out. The season is not over yet, and the MVP is not given at the All-Star break. Okay, maybe besides this one. Who do you guys think is the MVP? What is your criteria?